Every year, around 2 million dogs are consumed in South Korea. Most will originate from battery-run dog farms where puppies are born onto cold wire. Winters are harsh, and the summers are contrastingly intense. They do not receive any love or a human hand to stroke their fur. They are pumped with antibiotics just to keep them alive long enough to take them away to the meat markets, where they will be purchased, killed, and consumed. They are dispatched in the most inhumane ways, by hanging, beating, and electrocution. However, change is in the air. The younger generations are rebelling against this age-old trade and shaming older family members into closing down their dog meat farms. Humane Society International is at the forefront of this exciting move and are assisting dog farmers on how to reinvent their lives and their businesses for good.
Well, it's a very exciting day today. We're here outside the Animal Reception Centre at Heathrow Airport, where we're all eagerly awaiting the arrival of 8 rescued dogs from the dog meat trade in Korea, rescued by charity Humane Society International after shutting down one of the biggest dog meat farms in Korea, consisting of over 200 dogs. These dogs have come all the way to the UK, where they're going to be homed. We're going to be going over to All Dogs Matter later on, but we're going to meet them in a minute and we're going to have a chat and find out about their stories. Okay, we're here with Bridget, aren't we, Peter? And she's one of the lucky ones to come to the UK. But of course, all 200 were rescued, which is amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely magnificent. And thank you, HSI Global, and of course HSI UK. It's a sensational rescue. 200 dogs from South Korea, all destined for the table, are now here in England.
Love.
8 of them are here in England with us, and 3 of them will be going into a program with medical detection, and in order basically just to help show the South Korean people who want to eat dogs that there is a much better alternative, and that is to have a dog that will help you save lives and help you in your life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, she's absolutely beautiful, and of course what we were talking about earlier, weren't we, is how someone could actually go and look at an animal like this, to actually pick it, to take it home and eat it. It's just, you can't even think of that. I mean, dogs are so special to the British population. They're so part of a family that it's very hard for us to understand sometimes another culture.
Well, I mean, I have to say, it's a thing of culture. I don't think it's a thing of cruelty, really. But there are so many South Koreans who feel exactly the same way as we do. It's a minority of people in South Korea that want to eat dog, and it's very much within the old guard of people. I think she wants to get going, and she's had enough of this. Particularly the youth in South Korea, they have very much a Western attitude to animal welfare, and they want to save their dogs, and there are great charities in South Korea who are doing the same thing. It's very exciting and very, very, very moving.
So Peter, can you tell us a little bit more about what it was like to be on the Korean farm?
Well, it was the most harrowing experience of my entire life. It was horrible. The first thing that hits you as you approach the farm is the deafening sound of dogs barking and yelping and crying for help, I suppose. Then once you kind of break through that and enter the farm, then the next thing, which is so totally disgusting, is the smell. And that smell is a combination of excrement, urine and ammonia, and that hits you through your nostrils and into your gut, and you want to vomit. It is so disgusting. And then you walk around these facilities and you go from cage to cage and you see these remarkable dogs that all come to you. You put your hand to the cage, they come and lick your hand. They want human contact. Dogs it is in their DNA to communicate with humans, and it is so disgusting that instinct is being destroyed by these dog meat farms because they just want to eat them.
I'm here with Roger Mugford, and we've got a beautiful, beautiful rescue. What's this one called?
This is PC, or PC-ette. She's a lady. Her predecessor was also called PC and looked identical, and he died sadly a year ago, and I'm missing him terribly. And I saw her looking at me. I'm afraid I melted.
Oh.
And this is a very emotional day.
Yes.
Last week I left her in this cage, and she looked at me, and I cried leaving this
Really?
farm. But big smiles today. When she sees Brit the PC, she'll melt.
Are you actually going to adopt PC yourself then?
Yes, she's coming home today.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
excited.
And how many dogs do you have at home already?
4.
4.
So you have to fit in, darling.
Yeah.
But but I think actually the transition is going to be quite easy. And of course, small dogs are more easy to
Yes.
find homes for and to adopt. But
Yeah.
but the dog in your hand, I think, has a great potential. As
Yes.
a friend, this Bridget is a beautiful dog, and characteristically, all of the dogs we saw are beautiful dogs.
Yes.
And physically beautiful and emotionally beautiful.
Yes.
And it's such a puzzle to we Westerners how anybody could treat any animal,
Yeah.
not just the fact that they're dogs, any animal, in the way that these dogs have been treated.
And when you saw her out in Korea, was she crushed in a cage? Did she have any room?
No, there were 6 dogs, so she was number 6. And when I lifted her out and spoiled her, as one does, put her back, she was immediately attacked by one other of the
Wow.
other 5. And it's just so sad. These dogs have no personal space, of course, no toys, no normal human food. They don't have water. They're kept without water.
So how do they get on? Do
They're
they get it
wet
from
food.
that? Oh, yeah, I'm getting pulled by Bridget here.
Slop food.
So
and
literally they get their moisture from the slop
From
that
the-
they're dished out.
That's it. So this little dog, these dogs have to learn everything from scratch. They have to learn about human beings, that we're nice guys, hopefully, that human beings are a source of love as well as just food. And they have to learn our language, learn our smells, learn our facial expressions.
The farmer that actually kept these dogs, did you see, was it a him or a her?
It was a her.
And did you see her stroking or touching
Never.
any of the dogs?
They are given no normal human affection.
Well,
They're not let out of these cages ever.
I think it's astounding because they're so well behaved for having that lack
Yeah.
of
Well,
human contact.
We obviously have selected 8 dogs that will make this journey and hopefully make this transition to living as pets or as working dogs indeed.
Okay, well I wish you all the luck.
I think we're going to be great, and she loves you.
Once the dogs were checked out of the animal centre, they were off on the next part of their exciting adventure to All Dogs Matter in North London, where they would be assessed, treated for any medical issues, rehabilitated and eventually adopted out to new, loving families.
I'm here with Claire Bass from Humane Society International. We've got Coco, who's one of the little ones, haven't we? Which is quite surprising. It's like beggars the question, how can people eat dogs so small?
Well, I have no answer for that, Annika, I'm afraid. But yeah, this is one of the 8 dogs we've brought to the UK for rehoming, and it's part of our campaign to end the dog meat trade in South Korea. So these dogs are from the 6th farm that we've closed in South Korea. We've rescued over 700 dogs so far from those 6 farms. They've all been rehomed into loving family homes. And really, part of the campaign is to show that these dogs are just dogs. They're not meat dogs. They can be loving companions, and we are also really highlighting the fact to the Korean government that many farmers want to leave this trade. It's not profitable. It's a marginal food. It's a dying industry, basically. And so by showing that farmers are willing to close, cooperate rather than have conflict, we hope that's a model the government can take forward and adopt a full-on phase-out.
So the farmers, do they actually come to you or do you approach them?
Yep, so far of all 6 farms that we've closed, the farmers are basically queuing up because there's a lot of shame for many of the farmers attached to the industry because the cruelty is fairly apparent, and these dogs just want to be cuddled and loved, as you can see.
Yeah.
And so when they're treated so badly, it's, the families of the farmers often are urging them to get out of business.
Yes, well that's quite encouraging because it's showing younger generations have definitely got a different state of mind to the older generations. So if it's coming from the younger ones encouraging their relatives to give it up, I think that's a really good sign of the times.
It is, yeah, and when we're also really encouraged by the fact that this campaign is really coming from Korea. It's being driven by, the younger generation in Korea particularly, who want to see an end to this trade. And that's also having an impact on political opinions as well. There's 50 or more politicians in Korea who are vocally opposed to the cruelty inherent to the dog meat trade. So, change is happening. We hope that with the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympics in 2018, we can use that as a catalyst to make the change happen even faster.
Yes.
So that people remember the Winter Olympics for all the right reasons. If they phase out the dog meat trade, then it won't be tarred with that awful image.
How many other farms do you think you might be able to tackle by the end of 2017?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer, and we're pushing the government, as I mentioned, to adopt or to commit to a phase-out strategy because there's 17,000 or so farms in South Korea, ranging in size from a few tens of dogs to more than 1,000. So we, as a charity, can't go around and close every single one.
Yeah.
We're using this as a model to show the government, what they should commit to. But as I said, we've already got another farm, wanting to work with us, and I'm sure there'll be more very soon.
So for the government to help farmers get out of the industry, what are you asking them to do to give them some money to help them set up a different business?
Yeah, so what we've been doing with the farms that we've closed so far is helping them transition to an alternative livelihood. So in some cases it's blueberry farming, other types of arable farming, never animal farming. That's the only condition of the agreement with them. And so yes, we basically tear down all the cages, work with them to create whatever farming system they need, if it's greenhouses for blueberry farming, and then they have that sort of startup that they need to move on and leave dog farming behind.
Yeah, and definitely I think it would be very good for Korea to actually be seen as the ones phasing it out eventually, because I think there is a lot of xenophobia. We've seen it on websites, and we're also very much aware that it's only a very small pocket of people in Korea that are actually engaged in this practice, but I think the rest of the world do tend to think that it is the whole country. So I think for Korea to actually step forward and actually phase out themselves will give them such incredible positivity and show the world that they are actually working towards phasing it out before the Winter Olympics.
Yep, we hope so.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Do you think these dogs were born on the farm, or do you think they were handed in perhaps by people that didn't want the pets?
It's hard to say, but I mean, all I can say is that the way that she's just so relaxed being held. It is possible that she was a dumped pet. That does happen. Most of the dogs are bred on the farm, but it is possible that this one actually has at some point been loved by somebody, but then was unfortunate enough to be abandoned and then ended up on a dog meat farm.
And this farm is quite big. I mean, 200 dogs is a lot,
Yeah.
but I've heard that they can go up to, 2,000 dogs? Or?
Yeah, they're all shapes and sizes. So you can have dog meat farms that have got 30 or so dogs. 2,000 is probably on the large side.
Well, it's a massive. It's like a chicken farm almost. I mean,
Yeah.
surely when you get that amount of dogs, the standards would plummet even worse than they would be at 200.
It's kind of like just the archetypal factory farm. Just cage after cage after cage of dogs circling in panic with absolutely no environmental enrichment. They get fed slop once a day, usually no water whatsoever.
Yeah, I was told that they get no water at all, and it purely comes from this porridge-like.
Yep.
What is in that food, do you know, that goes in the slop?
It doesn't bear thinking about, all sorts. I mean, I've seen them being fed just chicken feet, We've seen bits of animal, bits of cereal, usually peelings from restaurants, anything that is really, really cheap, because one thing about dog meat farming is that, you know, every corner is cut so that you can make as much profit as possible.
Okay, and what are the regulations in Korea for the dog meat farms? Do they have any regulations at all?
No, it's not regulated, which is why it kind of falls in between the tracks. It's kind of in legal limbo. It's not explicitly legal, but it's not explicitly illegal either, although many of the component parts of the dog meat trade are illegal. For example, it's illegal to kill an animal in front of animals of the same species. It's illegal to kill an animal by hanging by the neck. But those are things that are routinely happening in the dog meat trade in South Korea.
Yeah, well, there's certainly been footage, hasn't there, on the internet?
Yeah.
Some people were suggesting that the hanging is something they used to do, and they don't do that so much anymore. Would you agree with that?
It does still happen. I mean, certainly electrocution is the most common way of killing them, but hanging does definitely still happen. And sometimes hanging and beating in combination.
Is that for the reasons that we discussed before, that it was to increase the adrenaline of the dog, that the dog needs to suffer when it's dying?
I can only talk from personal experience, and I've not come across that belief in South Korea. In other parts of Asia, yes. But in South Korea, I've not come across that. But there's no two ways about it. I mean, the killing methods are utterly brutal. And with electrocution, normally it takes between about 2 and 5 minutes to die, but there have been cases where 10, 20 minutes until death.
God, that seems ridiculous. It's not quick at all.
No.
And so we've got 8 dogs which have come to the UK, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And all the others, are they going to America?
America and Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of them are already arrived, and then the last lot are ready to go. And then once that's done and every cage is empty, we'll then dismantle all the cages, and the farm will be closed, and that business will be finished. The farmer hasn't completely made her mind up about what she's going to carry on and do. She's talked about moving to the city and maybe opening up a shop. But for her, certainly, she's very keen to leave the dog meat trade behind her.
Does she feel good about closing down her
Very
farm?
good, yeah. I mean, when you talk to her, you get a very definite sense of shame and regret. And that's a common theme, actually, with all the dog farmers that we've worked with.
Yeah.
They are under a lot of pressure, particularly from family, particularly if they've got kids themselves, to get out of the dog meat trade. And in working with us, because we spend months on these farms with the farmers, we have to go back and do vaccinations and deworming and getting them prepared for their journey. And so we get to know the farmers really well, and they come on a journey, an emotional journey with us. We've had dog meat farmers who, when the last dog is leaving, they've been in tears. And
oh
I think
my gosh.
those emotions, it's a mixture of regret and shame, because they've seen how we interact with those dogs. When HSI turns up, suddenly those dogs get cuddles and kisses, and so I think everybody learns a lot.
Well, today has been an extremely positive day. I've enjoyed myself so much meeting all of the lucky rescues that have come over to England. And I think it's so interesting to actually see how far Korea has come in actually bringing the dog meat trade to an end. I'm feeling really rather hopeful about this. We've got 2017 as a last chance to bring it to the end before the Winter Olympics. I think there might be a chance.